So welcome, Kaleah LaRoche. I kind of jotted down a little bit about who you are and what kind of services you offer. And one thing that stands out to me, and I don't know if you've actually shifted your focus or just now this seems to be more upfront when I kind of glance at your website, and that is success coaching to create the life you love. Is that something you're gearing your services more towards while you are also still helping people with narcissistic abuse? I don't know if that makes any sense, but
You know what? I'm still playing with that because I am in transition and I'm really just doing whatever I feel inspired to do right now. So I'm playing around with that a little bit and you know, success coaching is a little like I'm not sure that people really would identify with it that much because it's like, well, what is success, right?
that's true.
The soul coaching has kind of been something I've been doing forever that feels a little more spiritual. What do you like? Just asking
Possibly,
your opinion.
yeah, for sure. I think what you just said makes a lot of sense, and maybe some way combining the two um, in some kind of explanation of success is what success means to you as an individual versus how society defines success.
Right.
So if I asked you that question, how do you define success for
So
yourself?
if you ask me how I define success for myself, it is living a life that you love. And really having the resources to be able to live a life you love, because there's
Mm.
so much around money these days, and we've all had our struggles with finances, along the way. We've had times where we've had more, we've had times where we've had less, but we really do need to have the resources to live a life we love. Now, it doesn't have to be hundreds of thousands or millions, but when I travel in my truck camper, I need to be able to put gas in my truck, and things go wrong with both the truck and the camper, and I've got to be able to get the repairs, and I need to be able to eat well. And there's just so many elements to being able to live a life that I love. So it's a combination of doing what you love to do, of following your true calling, following what your own inner guidance is, what you're passionate about, what you're excited about, where you feel your gifts are, to be able to use those gifts, and to be able to create the resources to finance that lifestyle.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I know the last couple of interviews I did, and it keeps coming up for me, the awareness of the percentage of people on the earth that actually have those resources. It's a much smaller percentage than those that don't. And that saddens me a lot. And there's not a whole lot I can do to change that, but just the awareness of it. Um, how well can a person evolve, say, on a spiritual path when they are in the experience of surviving, which a lot of times can bring suffering.
Exactly. And I think that's kind of where our evolution has been. Is there's been times where if we go back, there were really two classes in the past. There was the upper class and the lower class. There were the landowners and those that were the servants to the landowners. And if you owned land, you were a lord or a lady, or it's like you had the status and the prestige, and otherwise you were just the poor farmer that was providing the food for the lords and ladies. And You could have a meager meal yourself out of the deal, but there was a lot of that kind of mentality that was going on. Now, I mean, we're still in a situation where 1% of the population have the wealth, the majority of the wealth. That's the situation. We've had a middle class, and a lot of people are saying, well, that's being eliminated again.
Kind of seems that way.
Yeah, that it's either you're going to be going on the upper echelons, or you're going to be on the lower. And that's probably why I felt called to go back more into working with the subconscious mind and our ability to manifest and our ability to change our mindset, because there's certain facts of life, like, okay, here I am in 3D, and here's how much money I have, and here's how much money I need, and here's how I'm feeling about it. I'm feeling scared. I'm feeling like, how do I go to the next level? Am I doomed to just live on, this small amount of money for the rest of my life? How far is it going to get me? I can't afford that. I can't afford this. So we have certain mindset that we were conditioned to have. Mm-hmm. And although I've been involved in hypnosis since 1988, a very long time, mm-hmm. It's like the call to go deeper into it is recent, because I see so much conditioning and programming, and even have had to face that in myself, that I've had to change my mindset to the understanding that what we see in 3D does not have to represent what we're creating. Mm-hmm. What's going to outpicture, manifest in we can call it 5D. A lot of people see 5D, kind of that new earth consciousness, the consciousness of abundance, the consciousness of living in a love vibration, kind of a new earth, meaning all the things we would visualize and imagine that we would want a beautiful place to live to be. Where there's a lot of love and abundance, and all of our needs are taken care of. So it's kind of like going back to the Garden of Eden, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, this topic of hypnosis, and as you mentioned, you've been a clinical hypnotherapist mm-hmm. since 1988. Mm-hmm. And this topic just intrigues me on so many different levels. And one of them, given that, like I mentioned, a big part of my spiritual path and what I feel like my calling is how can I be of service to, first of all, eliminate suffering within myself and live a more present, consciously aware life? And how can I help others eliminate suffering? And so to me, this topic of hypnosis, I totally see it in alignment and connected to what we call a spiritual awakening. And, as I was understanding and researching for the show today, the understanding that the subconscious is 95%, and our subconscious mind, and our conscious mind is 5%. Well, so what is a spiritual awakening? Is it related to bringing the subconscious conscious, or somehow having the conscious mind and subconscious mind working together towards a focused, desired manifestation of what we create in our lives? I know that's a long-winded thing, but I'm just so excited about understanding.
Yeah, and these are really important questions that I think a lot of people are exploring right now, is this idea that the conscious mind is, this small percentage that we're aware of, because it's just basically our conscious awareness, what we are aware of, and what is in the subconscious, what we're not aware of. But
Mhm.
I also believe, there's another element which is super conscious, which is, which is source energy, and that is also part of that 95%. How source energy works in our life.
Mm.
And so it's not just, how the inner child was wounded, and these wounds are causing us to do certain things or have certain beliefs. There's more to it than that. It's how do we work with this source energy to have the things we want in life, to use that energy for our benefit and the benefit of others. How do we access that? And how do we change our subconscious programs so that we are using that energy to manifest, to become manifestors? Because there's a lot about that 5% conscious aspect in some schools of thought or beliefs is the master, and the 95% in the subconscious realm is the slave / servant. And what that means is that we have to direct that energy. What we are aware of consciously, we have to direct that energy. So it doesn't mean to boss it around or to, we might have certain ideas of slave or servant, but it's there to be used, just like the sun is there to be used to grow our vegetables, or it's abundant. It's there to be used for our own good. So how do we do that? How do we access that? How do we use that subconscious energy, that resource in that realm, which includes our imagination? Because in the subconscious, it's the seat of the imagination. It's the dynamo that directs our energy. So if we're feeling low energy, there's something going on, we can use our conscious mastermind, meaning what do we master? We have to master that ability to direct that energy for our benefit. And of course, if we're directing it in our benefit, we're directing it also in the benefit of others.
Hopefully.
Well, I don't think we can be much help to others if we haven't done our work.
Right.
And
yes, of course.
Have been able to, like somebody that's 300 pounds overweight isn't going to be very, very effective at helping people lose weight.
Yeah, I guess what I meant by hopefully, and it's a distorted thought, really. I just wonder if, say, a narcissistic person got a hold of how to use this kind of power that is unleashed in a lot of us, if they would use it for the good of all.
Well, no, of course not. Of course not. But, it's interesting how narcissistic people are already using it.
Yeah,
it's like
I wonder.
You don't have to be consciously spiritual to be able to, in order to feel that you are worthy, that you have something to offer, to have confidence, you have to have a certain belief in yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to have a certain image of yourself. And that's something that a lot of narcissists have mastered. They ignore what's showing up in their life on the 3D because in their mind, they're all that, right? They're already these great, wonderful beings. And people say, well, why does the narcissist, why is he so rich? And why does everything always happen for him? And why does he always get a girlfriend? And why does,
Yep.
It's because he believes he's all that.
Yep. Yes. Yeah.
He especially believes he's entitled to it.
Yeah.
So, this is kind of a sketchy topic, but But, that's the reality, is that subconscious pool of resource doesn't discriminate. It doesn't say, oh, well, that person's a narcissist, so I'm not going to give them what they want. There's no discrimination. It's just source energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it can be used for good or for bad.
Yes. Yes. And that, I think, is clearly seen. I don't know this, but I don't know. I might guess that a lot of the few percentage of people that hold the wealth could be in that category of, I don't know that, but I'm not saying anything for sure, but
yeah, but you could speculate.
yeah. Yeah. Could you clarify a little bit, Kaleah? Because I wasn't aware of this at all. And in researching the topic today and everything, I didn't come across something that you mentioned, which is majorly important and a huge piece if there isn't this awareness with hypnosis and the subconscious mind and the conscious mind, that within, if I understood you correctly, and let me know if I didn't, that in the 95% of the subconscious mind is also the superconscious.
It is within there. The superconscious, God source energy
is in the
It's in the invisible. It's in the realm of the invisible. And the subconscious, when people describe the iceberg effect, which is everything on the top that you can see above water, is the conscious, and everything underwater is the invisible. You don't see it. It's the subconscious. It's submerged. We don't see it. It's invisible. We don't see God. God's source is invisible. And that's why people are like, well, I don't know if I believe in a God. I don't see a God. I don't have an experience of a God. That's the same with the subconscious. I don't see an inner child or a force in there making things happen. But I believe that there is a relationship between the subconscious and the superconscious. The superconscious is what I refer to as kind of the higher self, the all-knowing, And sometimes when we get a vision of it, we see sub as lower, below, so we don't think of higher source energy.
Yeah.
But, that's not at all. I mean, that's just how we visualize it, kind of on a spectrum. But it's all in the same place, which is the realm of the invisible and the unaware. Things we're not aware of.
That adds a piece that kind of changes everything, because and you can help me with this. My understanding of the subconscious mind is that, like before the age of 7, from birth to around age 7, that we're in theta brainwaves, which is kind of the place of hypnosis. And we receive a programming from the people around us, through what we're shown and experience and what we're told. And that's kind of programmed into our subconscious during a time where we're like little sponges and just absorbing all of that. And then we move past the age of 7, and then we go about our lives based on that programming.
Well, and that's just one piece.
Yeah, and this is what I want to understand.
What regulates heartbeat? What helps us to put one foot in front of the other without thinking about it? When we're a little kid and we start learning to walk, we have to put a lot of intention in putting that foot in front of the other until it becomes automatic. Well, subconscious is also the seat of our habitual contacts, our habitual conduct. Sorry. And because it's the seat of our habitual conduct, everything that's habitual is organized and run by the subconscious. So the subconscious regulates our heartbeat. It regulates our organs. It's what allows us to walk and talk without thinking about it. We don't have to think about taken that next step.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's so many realms there that it's also instrumental to our healing of our physical body, because it basically regulates all our systems, right? So if we have dis-ease in the body, that we can work with source energy, we can work with that subconscious energy for our healing.
So, I mean, that really needs clarification, because there's a lot of people out there talking about the subconscious mind, and along with it, they add, and most of what's in the subconscious mind is negative and disempowering. I mean, those are people actually out there kind of giving that information. So that kind of,
I would call that the shadow, though, Irma.
mm-hmm.
That I would call that the shadow. So there's a difference. The shadow are the things that have a negative impact on our life that we're unaware of.
Mm-hmm.
But the shadow isn't the subconscious. It is in the subconscious. It's an aspect of the subconscious. So if you look at what's beneath that iceberg, there's a lot of different things, including the shadow beneath that iceberg, but there's also all of our potential. It's like what's in a seed. The seed is submerged at first in the earth, and it has all this potential to become whatever that seed is supposed to become.
Mm.
And then if we feed it, water it, or sometimes don't have to do it, it happens to nature, that it gets sunlight, it gets water, it gets nourishment, that it begins to sprout. It becomes something that we do see. And then it grows to fruition. And so that's not a negative thing. That's part of life.
Yeah.
That seed gets submerged. It's down there, but then it becomes something.
So within the subconscious is both light and shadow. And the conscious mind, it's kind of up to our conscious mind to know how to navigate, maybe. What was that?
To direct. It's the director.
Director. Yeah. It's the director.
Right. So, because if we see a negative thought form, let's just use the example, I'm so poor, I can't afford anything. Okay. If somebody is constantly saying that, they are directing that thought form.
Mm-hmm.
And they're giving that energy to the subconscious, to the well of pure potentiality. And it receives that seed. And what grows in that soil is, I'm so poor, I can't afford anything. That becomes our continuing reality. So if we're directing in that way, that's what's going to happen. But if we become aware that we're the directors, right?
Yeah.
We become aware of those platforms that are destructive to us, and we can change it. We can say, cancel. I am so abundant. Money comes to me so easily and effortlessly. I can create whatever I want. And that's the seed that gets planted. And it's all what we are directing.
Wow. Okay. I get that. Wow. This is terrific. So then, based on what you just said, why is it that so many, the saying, I don't know where it came from, that a lot of people live quiet lives of desperation? Why is it that more people aren't manifesting a life of their wishes and desires? Is it that people don't understand how this all works? I don't know. Exactly. I'm asking you.
People are allowing the subconscious to run them instead of them running the subconscious, instead of them being the director. And it is learned. it is common in our society because most people don't have the secrets of the universe. Most people just don't know. They're unaware that we have this potential within us that, if fed and watered and taken care of, can grow into something beautiful. Mm-hmm. So we end up creating or manifesting by default programming. So when I was younger, I took a lot of what was said to me because I felt like mistakes weren't tolerated very well in my childhood. I couldn't make mistakes without being scolded and made to feel like there was something wrong or bad about me. And so as I grew up and became an adult, whenever I'd make a mistake, I'd get down on myself, gosh, you're so stupid. Why did you do that? And I would unconsciously be down on myself like that. And it would just be automatic. So part of my healing journey was to start catching myself. And whenever I would start to, if I made a mistake and I would start to get down on myself, to go, oh, there I am, scolding myself because that's my programming. Cancel. It's okay, sweetie, that you made a mistake. Everybody makes mistakes. You're still lovable. You're still good. You're still worthy. So I changed my own programming just through that process right there.
Yeah. So it sounds like, and that this is connected to the secret and the law of attraction being, the secret. And I'm not minimizing that because, like we just talked about, it is a secret to a lot of people how to manifest our true wishes and desires in our life. How do we go about doing that? So the way you were just describing things, it did make me think of the law of attraction and, the law of deliberate creation versus going on default. So It sounds like it's all tied into that. It's just, when something is taken and made like, makes it even more of a mystery maybe than it needs to be, because what you're describing and how you're describing it really makes logical sense.
It's kind of logical when you think about it, and I'm feeling really, like I said, drawn to talk about it more because I think people need to understand. And especially, coming from the topic of narcissistic abuse that we've worked in a lot of times, I talk to people about the victim mindset and such that, when I'm a believer that people are victimized. They do get victimized. That's something that does happen. However, we have to change our own belief about ourselves as somebody that is a victim, because when we carry that energy, we attract experiences where we feel victimized. And, that's part of the recovery process for people that are learning how not to put themselves in positions where they're abused over and over again, is to change the programs that they've been operating under, which might be, I'm not worthy, I don't deserve, people always hurt me, I can't trust anybody, and these are things that are being fed or planted in the soil. Mm-hmm. And so that's what ends up sprouting in their life. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'm a perfect example. Like I say, I've learned this stuff the hard way. It's not, I learned it through doing it. Okay.
Wow, this is intriguing to me. It just seems to me that this is something we should be taught at a much younger age so we can understand how to empower ourselves and to create a life of conscious choice to what we want to manifest and who we want to be and living up to our fullest potential.
Wouldn't that be beautiful if we could train our children in these things? But, our systems, school systems and such are very conscious programming facilities.
Yeah.
And more people are saying, I'm pulling my kids out of school and I'm homeschooling and things like that, because a lot of what's being programmed into kids' mind is not beneficial and not going to help them to get this stuff at all.
Yeah.
So our systems are pretty archaic and a lot of times corrupt. And so some people will say that these powers that be, those that hold a lot of the wealth, don't want us knowing this stuff. Because if we knew how powerful we are, they couldn't control us. So that a lot of the systems of that our society is built on are meant to keep us oppressed and down and believing that we're unworthy, or that we can't have what we want, or that we need to work a 9-to-5 job for just a little bit of money that will just help us scrape by, or it's just part of our overall programming. And so as we start to wake up, which is what's happening on a global scale right now, and the whole pandemic thing really helped bring this up, bring it to light. People started going, wait a minute, whoa, and started kind of observing some things that are going on that aren't cool. And, I think, it's often through dark acts or darkness that we become aware. In fact, I was just doing this meditation just this morning because I'm working on another talk. And I asked the question, why is it that people that polarize towards the light and people that polarize toward the darkness come together like magnets? So if you think about the empath and the narcissist, or, why are they so polarized together? Why do they come together like magnets? And what I was told was that dark energy is actually the catalyst for the awakening of those that are in alignment with the light, that have the purity of heart and the intention to live in the light, that they often have to have this dance with darkness, or go through a dark night of the soul, and bring that shadow up, have to do a dance with the shadow to understand the things that have held them back, to understand their own negative beliefs and the things that have caused them to stay stuck in a denser, darker reality.
Yeah. And fortunately, the empath, or, some people might also say codependent, they can learn from that reflection from the darkness. They can learn and move away from it, where the narcissist isn't going to learn a thing. I mean, I hate to be that black and white about it, but
most of us know that, though. We know that the people that are getting their needs met through being dark, through destroying. I mean, if we look at what is darkness, it is in the context in which we're using it. It is people who kill, steal, destroy, and it might be kill the spirit. It might be steal your soul. It might be destroy your reality. I mean, but those energies of kill, steal, and destroy are there.
Destruction.
And people that are in that energy are getting what they want from it. So they have no incentive to change.
Right.
They're getting energy, it's like people that take food from others and they're getting fed. There's no incentive to, go get a job to earn money to buy food when they could just take it without a conscience, without any guilt or shame or anything around taking it. It's just like, I'm entitled, I should have that. So they just take it.
Yeah. And so what we learned, or kind of what rose up maybe in the pandemic, giving us an opportunity to maybe have less distractions and through that become more aware. Part of that awareness was possibly, and part of the awakening is, oh my goodness, we're being controlled. We're being controlled and held down. I just think of one thing alone, and there's many, the how media is used. And, most of us, a lot of people are getting televisions out of their home, but for a long time, most of us, turned on that boob tube and received the programming,
Exactly.
And
that's what it is. That's hypnosis. So we talk about hypnosis. Hypnosis is can be used for light or dark once again. And most of your advertising is subliminal. It's hypnosis. And most of the media is subliminal. It's hypnosis. So in a lot of ways, what I'm doing in my work is dehypnosis or deprogramming. Instead of, because you're getting all this programming from your television, from media, from advertising. The message of advertising often is, there's all this sexuality in advertising. That's one of the primary drivers, that's used in advertising, because people, want that attention. They want to be loved. They want to be seen desirable, valuable, things like that. It's all wrapped up in this kind of sexuality. And so, women are constantly bombarded by these messages. If you use this shampoo or this face cream, or you wear this, or you do this, that you're going to be more desirable, attractive, have more love, have more of what you want. And that's all this external stuff that doesn't at all address how can you get beautiful from the inside out? How can you start to cultivate inner beauty, which radiates outward?
And I'm sorry, did I interrupt you?
No, go ahead.
And a big part of the overall conditioning has created, and through media, kind of supporting it and encouraging it, has created division. And, people that are divided are a lot less powerful than if they're united. And, it seems to me that that's been a big part of what at times has seemed like things becoming worse in a sense. And hopefully there's a waking up to the fact that if we are being programmed and kind of encouraged to divide among ourselves, we will be less powerful, and those that are in power will run the show. And I don't have much trust that those in power are working for the good. But I could be wrong about that too. Don't know. Just an opinion.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing your opinion. I would tend to agree with that. And absolutely. I mean, we're in such an interesting time right now where in a very interesting time right now. And this idea of divide and conquer, that's been kind of with us for a very long time, but it definitely was a really big factor with the pandemic is, keep us divided. So we're fighting amongst each other, and then we're distracted from what's really going on. And, there is some coming back together right now. Some people are still very, 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 very committed to their way of looking at things, to where they're just not willing to see a different picture. And so they're going to still believe. In fact, I've talked to a lot of people, especially on my journey, in my travels. I talk to people and I kind of get an idea of where they're coming from and where their mindset is. And it's not like they're bad people. It's just that they've received a certain program.
Yeah.
And they're very committed to their belief that program is accurate.
Yeah.
And a lot of that program is fed through the media.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I say, that's if it's constantly being bombarded to you on a daily basis, and you are programmed or plugged into certain algorithms,
right?
So that you're getting fed the same information. How algorithms and YouTube work, for example, is if I go into my account on YouTube, I'm going to get all the same type of stuff.
Yeah.
But if it's somebody else completely on a different page, they're going to get a whole nother set of programming according to what they're absorbing. And that just continues to reinforce their beliefs. So, we're walking around and, it's real interesting. Dolores Cannon, she's the founder of Quantum Healing Hypnosis, which I'm certified in. She talked about this split. And of course, she passed away in 2017. So that's several years before the pandemic. She talked about this split that would be coming. And the reason she knew about it wasn't because she was psychic. It was because her style of hypnosis put people in such a deep trance that they were able to see things and that they would report what they saw. And so they were tapping into that super conscious, that unseen that we were talking about.
Right.
And all of these people were reporting in their visions, by being in this deep trance, this energy that was splitting.
Yeah.
And I've talked about it in one of my podcasts, that I actually had a vision of the earth, kind of splitting and pulling apart. And, I think it's symbolic of that split in consciousness. And Dolores really talked a lot about that because she had thousands of people seeing the same thing, thousands of people that were in different sides of the planet. I mean, they weren't in communication with each other. They weren't consuming the same media. And they were having this experience of seeing this split that we look at collectively, I mean, in the community of quantum hypnosis healers, as a split between a 3-dimensional reality and a 5th-dimensional reality, which 3D is what we see, what is solid, what we're able to observe. And the 5D is what we cannot observe right now, but except for in the mind's eye, except for in the realm of the imagination, except for in visions, things like that. And of course, a lot of that 3D reality is really matter of fact. It's very scientific. Can you prove it? Can you prove it? Where's your scientific proof? And if we don't have scientific proof, then it's dismissed. But there's a whole world going on. There's a whole reality going on that's based on this 5th-dimensional energy or realm that is a deeply spiritual reality. And it's even talked about in the Bible. And there shall be a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth have passed away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
And I don't know. Again, I'm always hesitant to talk as if I, am the expert of something specific when I'm not. So this comes from maybe an intuitive sense that we're like at that crossroad, like you just described, the two earths kind of separating, and at a crossroads where a lot of the systems that have been in place are no longer in place. And so some of us will participate in creating new systems, new realities that are based on things like love, peace, and harmony through conscious creation and participation. And some of us won't, and some of us will run on the automatic programming or kind of acting out from feeling a sense of helplessness or something, and not being empowered and not knowing how to consciously create and participate in a new reality and new systems based on different values, maybe. I don't know. It seems to me that a lot of systems that were in place are no longer in place, and maybe we need to understand it's up to us to participate in creating something new. And if we don't do it, then the old would just repeat itself. I don't know if any of that was clear, but it's kind of just an intuitive overall glance.
right. And just kind of what we were talking about before, that those that are kind of going into the new reality are learning to master their conscious thought process, and they're the ones that kind of working with the secret, so to speak. And I'm not talking about the movie The Secret, that I'm talking about kind of the secrets of the universe, the idea that we can create our reality in many ways, depending on where we're aligning our energies. And those that are just going on default programming are just having a much harder time. They're plugged into a denser energy.
Mm-hmm.
So
something that came up, and I want to get into the nuts and bolts of hypnosis and how people can benefit from that. But something that came up when I was kind of making notes and questions for today's show, that hypnosis kind of is known to create like a trance within a person, from the hypnotherapist to the person undergoing hypnosis. And in that trance, somehow in my mind, and I admit to having a bit of a weird mind, and that's okay. That trance, for some reason, in that I saw transcendence. And I just wondered, like, is there a connection? And was that accidental that I saw trance, hypnosis, and transcendence as somehow together in one thing? What do you think about that?
I think I absolutely, because, and just one thing to clarify too, is the hypnotherapist doesn't put somebody in trance. So there's a lot of people that are like, well, I don't want to be hypnotized because I'm going to lose control, and somebody's in control of my mind. It's, all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. It's just, there's a guide. And that experience. And what we're really doing is connecting you with the source energy, with that realm.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the realm where transcendence happens.
Unlimited potential.
Right.
Mm.
Right. So you're going in to this communion with source energy. And, it's very different for me now. And I know Dolores Cannon talked about the same thing from when she started towards the end, her last 10, 15, 20 years of work. Her work started changing because, guess what? We're changing. The energy of the planet's changing. Things are moving. The frequency is moving higher and higher and higher in a sense. And a lot of people are kind of just moving with it. And so, we're going into this space, and that's why I think it's important to understand that it's not just subconscious, but superconscious, because the superconscious is where that source energy is, that we're going into this space of communion that can be very much for people like a medicine journey, a plant medicine journey. So, plant medicines are really popular right now because people want to have this experience of oneness or connection with something larger than themselves. And I've not done any plant medicine journeys because I'm super sensitive and I'm really kind of afraid of what could happen for me in there. But something like hypnosis is so safe and warm and beautiful. And, and I would really kind of almost like to call it something different, like source connection or something.
Yeah.
When you go into that space, people come out of it. In fact, a lot of my clients that have bad PTSD and their minds just spinning and ruminating and obsessing, and they have not 1 minute's peace, they go into this state, this trance state, and they come out and they say, oh my gosh, I don't know if I've ever been that relaxed.
Yeah.
And there's a sense of warmth and connection that they may have never felt before. And that's the feeling of kind of being held in the arms of love. It's just a beautiful, beautiful place to be. And when you're in that place, it's so safe and warm and just like being in a warm embrace, that it gives you the sense of safety and comfort to be able to maybe face some of those things that are holding you back, or maybe to access a part of your soul that you weren't really able to access before. Or like in Dolores Cannon's work, we have conversation often with the higher self, with that soul part of yourself that has embodied here, that you may not be listening to because of all the chaos and craziness around you. You may not be able to hear that still small voice within that has guidance for you, that has information for you, that has direction for you. And so oftentimes when we get people into the state of hypnosis and they can have that conversation with the higher self is like, well, I've been trying to get through. I've been trying to talk to her, but she just won't listen.
Yeah.
So, it opens the doorway for a deeper connection.
Yeah. And, unfortunately, because of like stage hypnosis and things like that, hypnotherapy has, for some people, a stigma attached to it. So I think you're right calling it something else.
I call it soul therapy on a level. That's why, like on my email, it's like soul therapist. I call myself a soul therapist. Nobody really knows what that is, but and that's why I use hypnosis, because people kind of at least have a concept of what that is.
Yeah.
But a soul therapist is somebody that works, on a much deeper level, and works on the level of the soul, which is where source energy is.
So to get into a little bit of the nuts and bolts of hypnotherapy, So just a couple clarifying questions. What is hypnotherapy? How would you describe that for the audience?
Well, I would describe it differently now than I would have in 1988. But it is a form of deep relaxation that helps put somebody in a state where their mind can be receptive to positive programming and change, as well as connecting with parts of themselves that they've been disconnected from. So it's really a method of putting people in deeper connection with their true self and help people to change their core programming.
So when you say true self, what do you mean?
That part of you that is really authentic, that is operating from what is right to you, what feels right to you, rather than what you need to do to impress other people or to get the positive attention of other people or just to make money or to get approval or attention, whatever it is. These are things that are parts of our core programming, that you need to do this, this, and this for attention, approval, acceptance from the outside world. So when we can get rid of the need to have that attention, approval, and acceptance from the outside world, then we can just be who we are without needing those things from the outside world, because we're getting it from within. Does that make sense?
It does. Makes total sense.
Yeah.
So would you say, a lot of people on the spiritual path have turned towards meditation. How would you interpret or describe meditation in connection with hypnosis? Because it seems somehow related. I don't know that that's factual, but you would know, being a hypnotherapist, much better than I.
Well, I think meditation is a state of deep relaxation that's self-induced, in which people can have really great experiences, but people have a much more difficult time accessing those states without a guide. So we actually do the work in that state. So you might be able to access a state of relaxation in meditation, but it might take you a long time to be able to do that. A lot of work trying to get rid of the distraction.
Yeah.
Whereas hypnosis, the kind of hypnosis, well, most hypnosis helps to remove you from those distractions. There's techniques that are used that help to bypass that conscious analysis. So although that conscious analysis can be useful in the waking state, it's not useful when we're trying to get some work done on deeper states. So we help to bypass that conscious analytical mind and get into deeper states where we do the work in those deeper states.
Yeah. And one thing, as you were saying that kind of popped into my mind was hypnotherapy would be extremely beneficial to people on the spiritual path, in the sense where meditation might take a lot more time. Hypnotherapy could kind of, I don't know if I want to use the word speed things up, but in the sense with working with the hypnotherapist, there's focus. There's focused kind of intention, where in meditation it's kind of almost too expansive. There's focus, but not, I don't know how I would word that. Do you know what I'm saying? I just think hypnotherapy, maybe in combination with daily meditation, I want to say would speed things up. I don't know if that's the best way to put it.
That's not always necessarily true. It can be, but I've had people that have come in for a session that have had zero experience with meditation, and they go into a very deep state immediately.
Yeah.
Whereas there's other people that say, "Oh, I meditate every day," that are trying to control everything, and they're a lot harder to work with. So, it's not a requirement by any means,
No,
to
yeah.
make it easier or better.
Yeah, yeah. And I didn't think that it would be a requirement. I just know a lot of people that have been on the spiritual path for a long, long time and meditating for a long, long time and seem dissatisfied
Right.
with the outcome of meditation, with what they are wanting to manifest as their life experience.
Right. Yeah. I think they're very, very different things because, we are community creatures in a sense. We're not meant to do everything alone. And meditation is something you do alone, and it's a great practice. And a lot of people use it, and a lot of people get great benefit out of it. But when you're doing hypnosis, you're putting yourself in the hands of another person. And, you've heard where two or more are gathered, that's kind of where the magic happens. And so that's the benefit, when I work in session with some people. I mean, it can be so powerful for me to access those states with these people, because I myself go into trance. It's almost like the shaman who leads the ayahuasca ceremonies will drink ayahuasca and enter that state along with everybody else. When I'm putting somebody in trance or guiding somebody into trance, I myself am going in there. And that helps me to just be very, very intuitive about what I'm doing, to be able to know where to go with people, how to guide them, to listen, to say, oh, yes, go here or go here. And, we can have some real magic that happens in these sessions.
Yeah.
I even had one session, it was in quantum healing, where some real miracles happen. Quantum healing hypnosis, where a woman came in and she was channeling. She was channeling somebody, and prior to coming in for her session, and she wanted to get some clarity more on what this relationship was, and what was going on. And as soon as we got her into trance state, that channel came through and started talking, just instead of her higher self, it was the channel. And she was aware of it, of this energy being present. And of course, I was aware of this energy being present. And this entity said, I want to introduce you to Jesus. And it was a really interesting thing. He says, I'm going to bring him into the room. And she's in my room with me. I don't do these sessions by Zoom. It's necessary to do one-on-one, so I can be right there with them. And that room filled with light.
Oh my goodness.
It filled with the highest vibration of love I've probably ever experienced. And it brought me to tears. I just started bawling. I'm the facilitator, right? And she was bawling. And both of us were just crying because we were overwhelmed with that vibration, with how high it was, with how much love was there. And these are the things that are possible, in these states.
Yeah. You mentioned that was a quantum healing hypnosis or hypnotherapy session. So can you define quantum healing?
Well, quantum healing hypnosis is founded by Dolores Cannon, the late Dolores Cannon. She passed away, I think, 2017. And it started with, she back, I think in the 60s had become a hypnotist, hypnotherapist, whatever they were calling them back then. And she was asked to help a woman to relax that had problems with emotional eating or nervous eating. And that woman spontaneously went into some past lives or a past life. And Dolores had no experience with this, but she just went with it. And she's really good at what she did. And she started working with this woman and found the root of her nervous eating was actually in a so-called past life.
Mm.
And then more and more of her sessions, she started doing these past life regressions. And so she became known as a past life regressionist. But as her work progressed, it became much more than that. She started having people that were experiencing, like I talked about, channeling. They were channeling. They were having visions. They were seeing future lives. They were seeing alternative lives. They were, it's almost like the lid just got taken off. And there was all this information that started coming through. And it was, so powerful. And she's having so much healing and power in these sessions that she didn't want to call it past life regression anymore. So she called it Quantum Healing Hypnosis, because all this healing was happening in these sessions, because, it was kind of the idea that, there's so much beneath the surface of that iceberg that we don't understand, that we don't know about, the quantum field, the quantum reality, that in these sessions we're accessing that field or that reality. And, I was very much drawn to her work, which is why I became certified in it. I was already a hypnotist hypnotherapist since '88, but I got, I received my training in 2017, right? 2 years before the pandemic.
Oh, wow.
And got certified in it and had a lot of really amazing experiences. But that's kind of what it is. It's beyond hypnotherapy. It's beyond past life regression. It is entering the quantum field.
Yeah. And in that sense, not that speeding things up would be necessarily the goal, but, like a quantum leap is kind of, going from maybe A to Z a whole lot quicker than going step by step. It's quantum. It's like, and so I just see hypnotherapy specifically, and especially quantum healing hypnotherapy, being a great benefit for people that I don't like the terminology speed things up. And I don't know what other way to put that. It just seems so beneficial. Like it makes common sense to me.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, I think we're just entering a different vibration of reality. So that might be, another word for speeding things up. It's just like accessing a different vibration of reality, because, in the quantum field, there's all these different layers and levels vibrating at different rates.
Like
right?
frequencies. Yeah.
So there's the really dark, dense frequency where most of the darker energies are. And there's the higher frequencies, the light frequencies, the master frequencies, that there's this whole spectrum of frequencies. And the reality that we perceive out here, on planet Earth, the reality that we perceive comes from our specific frequency. So if we want to experience a different reality, we have to work on the level of, where are we vibrating? Where is our frequency? What thought forms are we accessing? Because even thought forms themselves can be in the collective, and we could just be picking them up.
Yes.
especially empaths and sensitive people, it's like they can be picking up these thought forms and then believing, if they don't have that that training and that conscious awareness, believing they're their thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's another part of being a master of our thoughts is does that thought serve me? It doesn't matter where it comes from. If it doesn't serve you, get rid of it.
Yeah, which kind of brought to my mind, I've heard this said many, many times, many different people in many different ways, that, until you understand that you are the director and, how you can engage more strongly in that people are kind of walking around in a hypnotic state.
Yeah,
kind of
really
on automatic.
Which, there's so much stuff out there about the zombie apocalypse and stuff right now, movies and people, cartoons and all kinds of stuff. Well, that's in the subconscious. That's in our consciousness, this zombie idea. And I think that's the zombie is the person walking around completely unconscious, programmed into a program that is being fed by certain powers.
Yeah, that.
And people are just plugged into that and going,
yeah,
yes, I shall do what you tell me to do. That's the zombie apocalypse right there, is people that don't question anything, that are just going along with the program.
And you know what? And it's not, the way I would want to put it is, on some level, it's really not their fault.
No.
If they are running on an automatic program that's plugged into a bigger program, if they don't know better, they can't do better. So in a lot of ways, it's not their fault. The saying, the Jesus quote, forgive them, they know not what they do.
Right.
And so, because a lot of times, there can be like anger or frustration against the zombies, so to speak. And I have compassion for them in the sense that you can't do better if you don't know better. So if they don't know, is it really their fault that they are, living a unconscious life in a sense? And I don't know, I'm not clumping any groups together or anything. There's many times I've been in that zombie state and go in it and out of it and back in it. And so I'm including myself in the they at different times.
Well, maybe we could look at the zombie as an archetype of sorts, something that people plug into that is really comes from a state of unawareness.
Yeah.
And, no, it's not anybody. It's not their fault. Of course not. It's not about fault or blame in any way. It's just the state of consciousness in which they are living. And that's kind of where desire comes in, is, I think it is in the Buddhist tradition where desire isn't considered to be a good thing,
Yeah, the goal is to get rid of all desire.
But on the other hand, in a lot of my research and study, desire is actually what pulls us towards our realization. And so if we don't have a desire to become better, to become greater, to become more, to become awakened, to become whatever, we would just be what we would be just going along with the program. So it's that desire that lifts us up.
That's a major thing to bring into this conversation, because a lot of people on the spiritual path are definitely a lot of times kind of tapped into Eastern philosophy and Buddhist belief that, to become enlightened means to end all desire. And I don't know this for certain, it could be looked up, but I do believe that the word desire means of the Father. So how could desire be wrong?
Well, and I think anything that's of the Father or of the God source cannot be wrong. Things that are given to us, even guilt, we can get caught up in guilt, but guilt is our moral barometer. It helps us to realize when we're doing something that we're not proud of or that we don't think is a good idea. And if we can understand guilt as a moral barometer, we can use it to guide us instead of being stuck in it. So, any of the emotions that we're given serve a purpose, including that desire. And I do believe that is what pulls us towards our good. We want something, we desire it, we move towards it.
Yeah.
And that means we're moving away from something else, right?
Right. I think desire, of the Father, of the Sire. I could be wrong at the root of that word, but it would be interesting to verify that if anybody wants to look that up. Another thing that came to mind as you were speaking, Kaleah, is how people talk about the veil, and a lot of times they're using it as the veil between this world and the other world, and a lot of belief systems see this world as maybe the relative and death. There's heaven, and some people believe in hell, and there's a veil in between the two worlds. I wonder about that, and I wonder, in the topic that we're speaking about, how would you define the veil in connection to the things that we've been talking about?
Well, I think the veil is that wall, for lack of a better word, because wall you think of as thick and veil you think of maybe as thinner, but between the reality that we can see, feel, touch, observe, and the reality that is in a sense, under the water of the iceberg, that we cannot see, feel, observe, touch, but that we know is there. And so when people say the veil is thinning, that means that this relationship between the seen and unseen is becoming more solid, that we are able to dance with the unseen as much as we are the seen. We're able to project ourselves into the future, imagine ourselves at a certain point, and then our energy is kind of tapped into that point, and we manifest that. And that point is beyond the veil. It's on the other side. It's in the realm of the imagination, or the realm of the spiritual energy. So it's not just, heaven and earth, because I think heaven in a sense is that state of consciousness that is in the unseen world. And earth is more the state of consciousness that is physical, that we can see, that we can feel, we can put our feet on it, we can touch it. So that the heaven and earths are coming together, meaning we are dancing in both worlds now. That we're dancing in the world of the unseen, the invisible, and the seen, and we're bringing the unseen into the seen. That's manifestation, right? Pulling from this place here into the physical is manifestation.
So we can possibly, through our awareness, create heaven on earth.
I think we are creating heaven on earth, but the dark energies are kind of messing with it a little bit. They're interfering because they don't want that to happen, because they lose control. When we, like I say, we realize how powerful we are, we can manifest heaven on earth.
Yeah.
And we are manifesting heaven on earth.
Yeah. Yeah. When spiritual people talk about and I don't even like that terminology, spiritual people. All people are spiritual.
People on
The
a conscious spiritual path,
a
maybe.
conscious spiritual path. Talk about oneness or non-duality. How does that come into play in this topic of hypnotherapy?
Well, that the term oneness for me is a bit of a buzzword because you know, most people that are practicing spirituality of sorts say, well, we're all one, right? We are all one.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, that means we are one with the narcissist and the sociopath and the, you know, we're all one. And the thing is we all come from the same source energy, the same creative source energy, but we're
And in
definitely,
that sense, we're all one.
yeah, but we're not the same. We are not the same. We are making different choices. We're vibrating at different frequencies. And I think we can really use that we are all one to do a spiritual bypass in a way that you know, this idea of loving your enemy, yeah, sure. Love your energy, your enemy, but take a great deal of space from that being that wants to destroy you, that wants to hurt you. And there's also this belief that, well, it's all in you because we are one. Therefore, it's you that wants to hurt you. It's you that wants to destroy you.
Yeah.
You know, and it gets very convoluted.
Uh-huh.
And I don't buy it. I just don't buy it. I think there are certain energies on the planet that, like I say, are polarized to the dark, and they get a great deal of pleasure out of killing, stealing, and destroying.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a vibration, that's a dimension of reality. And sure, when we raise our own vibration higher and higher and higher, we may not have so much of that coming in, but it doesn't mean that if it comes in, that we are somehow vibrating at that reality, or, you know, it might be a lesson that we need to learn. It might be that that person's really powerful and they've managed to get themselves into your reality. There's a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
A little hard to understand, but you know, that's kind of this idea of oneness is we come from the same source energy, but we're all different. We're all vibrating at different frequencies and we're living in different realities.
Yeah, that's a really, really important awareness to have. Um, I know for myself because of that awakening at a young age and how it connected me to the source of all that is. Um, Also, what happened moving forward was that was so strong in me that um, I saw love in everything and in everyone without having the awareness of what you just said. Yes, on some level, we are all one and connected to source, but in our manifested realities, not all of us are on that page of love and peace and being connected to source. And there are people on this earth that can cause harm and are destructive. And to have an awareness of that is very, very important.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you know, some of these energies are very parasitic, and, you know, even in the Course of Miracles, which has triggered me a lot and got me thinking a lot, because in the Course of Miracles, it's said that everyone and the action they take, and I'm not quoting, I'm just kind of paraphrasing, is an act of love or a cry for love.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And that makes us feel very compassionate for that poor soul that's just crying out for love through destructive means. And that might be true for a child that's throwing a temper tantrum in the grocery store. But there are these parasitic energies that, they can get all the love in the world and it's not going to change them. They're just going to feed on it. They're going to they're going to suck the life out of people because that's their nature. And so I'm not sure that I believe that everything is either an act of love or a cry for love, because that leads people to believe that all the narcissist wants is to be loved. How many people have I worked with that have given so much love? They've given everything they've had in the form of love, compassion, understanding, forgiveness. And that person goes on to be a parasite still.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So love does not change everybody. It's not just if you love somebody enough, they will change or they will transform. And it's just not reality.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you are an unaware empath, living your life, you are an open source for parasites. Because in that unawareness, you're open and you're filled with source energy, and that's can be very attractive, kind of like moths flying to a light. Very attractive.
Right. Absolutely. So, there's just a lot to unpack in this whole thing. It's like, people have the total permission to believe whatever they want to believe. I'm just sharing kind of what I believe about things and what my experience is, because I've done so much work in the dark realms, as far as transmuting it into light within myself and others, that I have come to certain understandings from my experiences.
It's an important awareness to add to this conversation. So I know that you offer on your website, which is KaleahLaRoche.com. Is that correct?
Yes, I've got that one, and narcissismfree.com
And I'll put links to that below this video when it gets posted. And I know on your website, and I don't know if it's on both of them or not, you do offer, I don't know if you label it or word it as self-hypnosis audio downloads, or just hypnosis.
Yes. And I actually have created a new website, inner-transformations with an s.com, for just my audio hypnosis programs. So I started making these in 1988 when I became a hypnotherapist, and people really liked them. They found them to be soothing. And so I started creating, a catalog of self-hypnosis audio downloads, because some people, they haven't manifested the funds yet to be able to come for a session with me, but they can easily spend the $20 to download a audio hypnosis program and work with those. And those are, what I call positive programming audios that implant messages of love and abundance and self-acceptance, depending on what the program is. And then I have ones like soul retrieval and cord cutting that help people to go through processes to kind of cut those toxic energies out of their lives as well.
Yeah, so maybe a combination of working with those hypnosis downloads in combination with having sessions with you would be beneficial.
Oh, definitely. In fact, I do encourage a lot of people that are working with me to work with the audios as well on their downtime, just to keep those positive messages coming in. So think of these audios as positive programming.
Mm-hmm.
And you will only ever accept what you're willing to accept. That's the beauty of this work is although we can be programmed through media and everything, my audios are really all positive programming. They're all telling you really how beautiful and wonderful and special you are and how capable you are on all levels, so that people start to believe in their own goodness and their
Yeah.
own abilities.
Yeah, and I think it's important if you choose to move towards something like hypnotherapy, that you trust the person that you're connecting in that area. You have built up a trust with that person, because I would think that a big part of having that, self-hypnosis, which you said all hypnotherapy is self-hypnosis. You have to trust the person, whether it's through an audio or an in-person session or whatever it is, that you trust that person and you feel safe with that person. I think that would be an important piece to have, that trust.
Right. And I think a lot of people build trust in my work through my podcast, Pandora's
Mm-hmm.
Box Radio, because they listen to me. Some people come to me after listening to me for years.
Mm-hmm.
They say, I've been following Pandora's Box for 6 years, or, because I started podcasting in 2008,
Mm-hmm.
and Pandora's Box was born in 2012. But people have been following me, some people for a very long time. And so they build a certain trust just from listening to me over and over and over again. But when I do quantum healing hypnosis, they are 4-hour sessions as trained by Dolores Cannon. The first hour and a half is really trust building. It's the interview.
Mm-hmm.
It's the time where we just sit and I gather a bunch of information about that person. I get them to open up and start talking and start sharing and get an inside kind of idea of who they are and why they're here and what they're wanting. And that hour and a half is really important to build trust between us. So that person, when we go into my hypnosis room and we start to work, they're very much at ease and relaxed with me and feel a bit of a bond, and we're ready to work. So that is super important.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. And is that on your website kind of defined that way, that it's kind of like a certain package in a way, that it's a 4-hour time frame and what takes place within those 4 hours and how it all unfolds?
Pretty much now. I'm doing some revamping of KaleahLaRoche.com, so I'm not sure how much I have on that website, but I will be putting more information on that website as far as the quantum healing goes. I have some other websites where it's really spelled out, so I'm going to work on that, but they are 4-hour sessions.
Yeah.
And they are in person, and I can do a form of them, of these sessions remotely, but they're not called quantum healing hypnosis because that is trademarked. And in order to say legally and to honor Dolores Cannon, they need to be done the way she wanted them to be done.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of practitioners that do a form of it remotely. And that might be somebody I've already worked with that already has trust, or that just wants to do a 2-hour, a 3-hour, that we can do a form of it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's good to know. That's good to know, because a lot of people might want to work with you that would only be able to do it through something online rather than in person.
Yeah.
So, a couple questions in closing. One of them that I'd like to close with would be, what words of wisdom would you have to share with anybody that listens to this or finds it somewhere in the future? How can they best participate in those two earths that kind of might be separating? That's one that I want to end with. And the question before that is, what would you like to add to this topic of hypnotherapy?
Well, I feel that knowing that you are the light is super important. To know that you are the light, you are source energy, you are this pure creative potential. So hypnosis helps you to access this and to often get very clear on your intention about what you want to create in your life.
Mm.
Who do you see yourself becoming? Or who are you that you're having a hard time stepping into? So I think that's a really big deal for people, is what is the life you really want to live? Do you believe you can live a life that you love, that is in alignment with your soul purpose, with your authentic self?
Mm.
And so I feel that the hypnosis work that I do really helps people on that level to really tap into their own light, their own source energy, and their own visions for their life, who they believe that they can become. And then we work to get to move away all the obstacles and blocks to that, so people can rise up and embrace themselves as that divine light being that they've come here to this planet to be, to help to raise the consciousness of the planet into its new form, which is that higher frequency love vibration form. And I'm not here to help the people that are walking along in the zombie apocalypse, because they're not looking for help. They don't have the desire, they don't have the belief that they can change. So I'm here to work with the people that know that they can change. They just need some help getting there. The people that know that there's light in them, and that they want to live a life of love and light and positivity, and they just need some help getting there.
Yeah. What a beautiful service to offer. I can't think of anything more important, because it's participating in kind of bringing heaven to earth, in a sense, and also participating into how to take this lifetime and live up to your fullest potential, that your heart's desire matches the what you experience in what appears to be the external world, your external experience, that they are in harmony with each other. And it just seems like, you could move from a feeling of walking uphill to living a more flowing, easy, effortless life, in a sense.
Right. And things, I just want to kind of end on that. Things are really challenging right now. So I'm not, we didn't really talk about that, but there are some real challenging energies that are kind of up right now that people are having to walk through, including a lot of financial programs and things like that. A lot of spiritual warfare, really. So there are some real challenges. So this is a great time to, get your light warrior on, and so that you can kind of cut away those really challenging energies, because there's no doubt that we're in some challenging times right now.
So how would you define that spiritual warfare?
It's the battle between good and evil, light and dark. So, I know that's very simplistic, but a lot more doesn't need to be said about it. It is that battle of those two energies that are kind of, it's like the dark energy wants to possess and control and take over. And the light energy wants to liberate and love and build and create.
Mm.
So, even though it looks like we all share the same planet, on the 3D level, and there's a choice that's going to have to be made, the spiritual warfare is being played out on many levels, not just 3D, but in other levels beyond this realm. And, kind of in the astral plane, the four-dimensional reality. And we often have to deal with those within ourselves too, those energies, those dark energies that might come in and plant negative thought forms in our head, or somebody might come in physically. There's a lot of ways that warfare is taking place. So we just have to really align with the vision of heaven on earth, that we are part of the team. We're part of team heaven and earth. We're part of team new earth, which is to create that free, liberated, loving reality that we can all be free in.
Yeah. And the darker energies kind of being destructive, and the lighter energies kind of being consciously creative.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So in a sense, the darker energies, probably through their own karmic process, will destroy themselves in the end. I don't know how that will look. I can't pretend to know how that will look. But in a sense, they'll destroy themselves in the end.
Yeah. And it's, if you take action towards your own conscious awareness, it's a lot less likely for darker energies to be able to get in a sense, if you yourself have participated in becoming a being of light. And I really strongly believe that light and love is always more powerful than darkness and hate.
I absolutely believe that. And I always use the candle in the room analogy. You have a dark room and everything is hidden, but you light one candle and suddenly you can see what's in the room. And you light two candles and you can see even more. And you light three candles and so on and so forth. So if you live with the idea that you are the light, that you are a candle in that dark room, the more and more candles that we have that are lit up, the more illuminated this world becomes, the more, the less that these dark energies can do their evil deeds in the darkness, which is the only place they can get away with it.
Yeah, so well said. And that kind of, we are definitely not helpless on this journey. But I do believe if we try and do it alone, we're making it a lot harder than it needs to be. So coming together, which is what we've done in this conversation, is to offer insight and awareness and light to others to kind of come together in that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Mm.
So, and I thank you so much, Irma, for inviting me. You, my dear friend, are a ray of light, and I love you. And I love having these conversations with you.
Oh, that's beautiful. We didn't get around to, and maybe we'll do another talk in the future. And it came through one of your last podcasts where you mentioned just ever so briefly, but it caught my ear and caught my attention, the age of transparency.
Yeah,
So,
that would be a beautiful next step.
yes, it would be. It would be. Thank you for sharing your love and light with us, Kaleah.
Thank you. Blessings.